Welcome. This is Points of Culture, third in our series. We are here tonight with Mark Altrogge, and we're going to be talking a little bit about arts and painting. But first I want to let you know about some things at the library and make sure that you all are reminded of the grab and go service that the library is offering Monday from 4 to 9, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. You may send an email request at grabandgo@indianafreelibrary.org, or you can just call in during those hours and make your request for really anything in the library, and we can organize that, put it in bags, and give you a call and schedule a pickup time. We also offer computer use for an hour during the same times, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So those services are all still available, and we like to continue to support our community in that way. We also have lots of digital resources on the website that are available to you at any time, 24/7. So please take advantage of that opportunity, especially while people are at home and kids are needing resources for homework, etc. We've just got an awful lot on our website to check out. And I also wanted to share a little bit about how this came about. This Points of Culture is really something that I noticed as we all kind of shut everything down. There's a lot of talk about essential workers and making sure people get their basic needs, but there is also a side of our lives as a community with arts and culture that kind of went underground, and I thought it would be a good idea to kind of bring that out and call attention to the things that we're not participating in, performances, and a lot of things that our cultural events add to our lives. So this is a way to kind of keep those in the forefront. And I want to thank Pennsylvania Humanities Council for a grant to do just that and to help with these programs and some equipment to make sure that they can happen. So we are very appreciative of that, and we're glad that those things are going to continue as library programs. We also have some just a few little housekeeping details on your screen at the very bottom. If you run your mouse over, there's a little button that says Q&A. So if you have questions, we can take those later on in the program if you put them in your Q&A, and we'd be glad to channel those questions to Mark and let him answer them as we go. And so that's a great way to participate and be involved in things tonight. So we're talking with Mark Altrogge, who's a local artist, and he has a lot of popularity with folks in our area. And I know, okay, so true confessions, I have some Mark Altrogge in my living room. And, Mark, I've known you since college, so a long time, but you've been working on art and your art skills for a long time. And I think a lot of people who would join in have seen your work. If I had thought about putting together a poll to see how many people actually have seen your work, I'm sure quite a few. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about tonight is if you could just sort of tell us a little bit about, take us on your journey of how you got to where you are. Were you, as a kid, a doodler? Did you get involved in, a lot of art projects when you were younger? How did that come about for you? Did you, develop that interest later in life, or was that always there?
Well, thanks, Kate. I always liked art from the time I was a kid. My dad was very much into art, and I know we might talk about that a little bit later. My mom also liked art. She was more into weaving and that kind of art, but she and my dad encouraged me. I can remember when I was, I believe, in second grade, the nuns in St. Mary's, where I went to elementary school, let me go to the library and I remember one afternoon, spend 2 hours just copying a picture of a cardinal So that's one of my earliest art memories, is just drawing this large, at the time it seemed, picture of a cardinal in as much detail as I could possibly do at the time for a 7-year-old. If I saw it now, it might look terrible, but at the time, I thought it was great, and the nuns were very much encouraging to me. And then my parents, I can remember they got me my first painting painting class, when I was 12.
Oh, wow.
Mom and Dad were so wonderful. They saved the very first oil painting I ever did, and I still have it right here.
Oh, show and tell.
Yeah, this is the first oil painting I ever did in my entire life,
Wow.
age 12. And so what is interesting to me when I look at it is that even some of the brushwork and stuff like that is still kind of similar, and the colors are still sort of similar to paintings I do now,
Wow.
which is interesting.
That is
And yeah, so they saved some other paintings I did too. If you'd like to see them. I believe I was 13, maybe 12, 13 when I did this one. So bullfighter. I think I probably copied it from somewhere. I don't think this was, I know I didn't go to a bullfight. So I think I must have copied it from a book somewhere.
pretty awesome though for that age. I don't think even at this age I could do that well.
Oh, you probably could easily.
No.
Here's another
I
one.
couldn't.
Here's another one I did. I think I was 13, 12 or 13 when I did this. And what's interesting about this one is the roosters are done with a palette knife.
Yeah.
And the background is done with brushes, but it's just kind of interesting,
Wow.
and then here's the last one I have from my childhood. I tried to copy a Vincent van Gogh painting. As I told you the other day, Van Gogh is one of my favorite artists. So
oh, wow.
It's not a real good copy if you were to compare it to the original. But I copied this, and then no one told me that I shouldn't do this. You can't really see it too well, but I signed my name on the bottom. You can't see it really, but
Yeah.
I signed my name instead of Van Gogh. I didn't know as a kid that was.
You were not supposed to do a
That's
forgery like that. Well, if you had signed Van Gogh, that would be a bigger problem.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, yeah, I'm really grateful. My parents really blessed me as a kid by getting me lessons and encouraging me.
Yeah. Well, your dad was an artist, wasn't he? Did he?
Oh, yes, he did art. I can't remember if it was off and on or consistently, but I know the last number of years of his life, he painted thousands of hand-painted birthday cards, 5x7 cards. And on the back, he would always write "Cool Card Company, not sold in stores," or something like that.
Yeah.
Sold only in fine.
That would be so special to get one of those. How wonderful.
Oh, lots of people have those cards, and they framed them. And I calculated once, because he did 30 cards a month.
Wow.
For everybody he knew. I once calculated that over the years he did 6,000 cards.
Incredible. Incredible. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was quite a painter, and I didn't paint with him until probably around 2010. I think what I did was we would have him, my wife Christy and I would have him over Monday nights. Every Monday night we'd have him over for dinner. And then after dinner we'd watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
Oh,
I hadn't painted in a number of years. And I remember saying to Dad, Dad, why don't we do this? After dinner on Monday nights, instead of watching TV, why don't we go back over to your house and paint together? And so we
oh,
were doing that, and that's what got me back into painting in recent years.
very
And
nice.
we'd sit on opposite sides of this painting table he had in
Mhm.
his den, and we had these little easels, and he would be painting these cards, and he would paint so fast. He would knock them out pretty fast at times. And I remember there were times he'd say, okay, I got my first one done. And I'd say, Dad, I'm still getting my paint out. I don't even have my paint on my palette. And every card he painted, every single one, he'd say, look at that. That's a real pretty one, ain't it? Yep, that's a real pretty one, Dad. So, yeah.
Wow. What an inspiration, though. You had a lot of influence there from your dad, but
Oh,
I know you've had influence by some of the masters, some of the, some of the people that we would all identify. Do you want to tell us more about some of the artists, the more famous artists that have been an influence for you?
well, my favorite, as I mentioned, was Van Gogh, Vincent van Gogh. Um, and it's just somehow I've always liked his brushwork.
Hmm.
And just you can see his brushwork and it's rhythmical in his paintings, like in Starry, Starry Night, just the
Yeah. Yeah.
rhythmical brushwork. And that I always liked that. So that's one reason why I like using generally oil paints, because you can get them thicker and I can show the brushwork in them. But I also really liked Monet and have been influenced by him. And Impressionists,
Hmm.
people would ask me what style I do, and I guess it would be Impressionism.
Yes.
Uh, I think that Van Gogh was a post-impressionist, maybe, but anyway, Impressionism, the brushwork, like for example, Monet's water lilies.
Yeah.
You look at those paintings, you can see, or the brushwork, and so I have copied him, and I mentioned to you when we were
I,
talking
I,
before.
yeah, I can see that in the way you do a sky, the clouds
Oh,
and the colors, and bringing all the colors out in the sky. I can tell that's
thanks.
very Monet looking.
Well, I had some really wonderful teachers in high school and college,
Hmm.
and they helped me a lot, really encouraged me.
I think painting is one of those things you do to be brave, I think that's one of the things that holds people back is, they don't want to put something on there and mess it up, you know.
Uh,
So there's a knack to the I don't know if it's hiding, the mistakes or just incorporating or, the Bob Ross happy mistakes kind of concept. But I think that keeps a lot of people from doing more expression, in paint than they would otherwise feel free to do. But
yeah, yeah. Well, I read somewhere once that lots of artists, writers, songwriters, musicians, painters have a fear, like you're talking about, of just messing something up or making mistakes. And
yeah,
something really encouraged me was someone wrote like that you should think of yourself not like some kind of a fantastic artist, but like a worker on the highway who just goes out and lays asphalt down on the highway every day. Just go out, lay down the asphalt. And that really helped me, because lots of times I just say, okay, I just got to get paint on the canvas. And one of the reasons I do like acrylics and oil paints is because I can fix mistakes. But part of the whole process for me, I've told people it's like some kind of a puzzle. And so while I'm painting, I'm not thinking I've got to get an absolute perfectly finished painting on the first run. No, it's kind of like, all right, that I think I need a little light blue there, and then I put a little light blue there, and I think, oh, I think I need a little dab of blue down here, and now I need some purple there. And so it's kind of like a puzzle. And what I really like about it is while I'm painting, I'm completely absorbed in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so, lots of times I might have music playing, but I'm not thinking about anything else. It's just kind of fun
in
that
the
way.
zone.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing when our hobbies or avocation or whatever it is just sort of takes you away and you're just completely focused, and it's very freeing to do that.
Yeah.
Do that with a lot of different things where you're just in the moment and everything else falls away. It's a little contemplative. Very nice.
That's really, one of the things I really enjoy about it.
I think John Grisham actually in his writing has that same sort of discipline, just write a page a day, just cranking it out. So if you think about that 365 days in a year, that's a book. So, for a while he was cranking out a book a year. So that's kind of that's the outcome of that, is just as a discipline to continue and not think about how it feels to put it on the painting. But I know that you are very expressive in what I've seen of your paintings and the colors, and it just sort of jumps out at you. And I know, are you trying to capture a certain feeling, or are you trying to express a certain feeling or emote a feeling with someone viewing, or how does that work for you? Or you just say, oh, I need yellow today?
Well, I don't know that I'm trying to emote a feeling or something like that. I just love color. I love intense colors.
Yeah.
I love the way colors interact together, and so for me, it's kind of like, it's just the experience. It's almost like, oh wow, look what happened by accident at times, and then sometimes I'll think, okay, I need there's some blue there, but it would really look good maybe if I put a red line going through it or something like that. But there's a sort of a sense of always a little bit of surprise, even though I know these colors, but it's like, oh wow, look at how that looks, like right next to each other. Like I'll show you a painting I just finished not too long ago. And this is this whole feeling of surprise. I don't know if you can see that well.
Oh, that's spectacular.
But this, I'm working on a series of autumn kind of paintings. And I'm always trying something new. And so there were just different colors underneath. And then when I painted, say there's this light green underneath. And then when I painted the yellow on top of that, and then this blue here, it's just like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, or this green and yellow up here. It's kind of like, wow, I wasn't expecting that to look like that. So part of it for me is just experimenting. And I will tell you a secret, which I haven't told too many people, about these leaf paintings.
It's about to be public.
About to be public. People probably say I cheated.
Mm-hmm.
But I painted about 20 canvases, dark blue and dark brown, laid them out in my yard, and put sticks and leaves on top of those canvases. And then I sprayed yellow paint over them and red paint and blue paint. And then I brought them in the house, and then I worked back into them with oil paint.
Oh, wow.
So on these particular paintings, I didn't sit down with any particular design in mind. I just laid sticks and leaves on the canvases, and it's just fun because
Wow.
I didn't know what would happen. And so when I sprayed the spray paint, it left the shapes of the leaves on there, and then I worked back into it and can change it, stuff like that. So that one is more reds and yellows and blues, but then the most recent one I did, I thought, oh, I need to do one with some browns in it. So I did
Nice.
this, and so just browns, and there was a lot of reddish brown in the background, like you can see it. Maybe, I don't know if you can see that or not.
I can.
But so then to work back over that with yellow and leave just shapes of like stems, and up here just the reddish brown in the background, but then working back over it. So it's just like I didn't know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. That's fun.
And yeah, so that's one of the things I try to tell classes when I've done it, is the main thing is have fun.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
I'm not trying to do a masterpiece. You know,
It just comes out that way.
I don't usually think of them as masterpieces, but if you want to, that's great.
Well, that's good advice. I was wondering if you had any kind of advice for young artists or people who are just, starting out, or, but it sounds like you have a message of just try things and play. So if you have any advice for people listening who are, budding artists.
Well, there is no kind of art or subject matter that's better than anything else. Just do what you like, do something you enjoy. Like there are some friends of mine who are incredibly detail oriented, and they paint beautiful paintings, just incredible details. A guy named H.K. Miller and Pat McKelvey, man, the detail.
Yes.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I just said, paint the way that you enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
and just try to have fun. And, if you like doing abstracts, do abstracts. If you like doing very realistic, do that. But, I don't think anybody should feel like I've got to do something great here. I've got to, just do the best you can, do it, enjoy it. If it turns out great, good.
Do what you love.
Yeah. I mentioned this to you earlier. Here's another point of advice. There's a book called Steal Like an Artist, which I read, which basically says no one ever does anything completely original.
Right.
Everybody is influenced by other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so rock groups are influenced, songs are influenced by other groups, and artists are influenced, like I've been influenced by Van Gogh. And so basically look at other stuff and steal their ideas and change them enough that no one will know that you stole them. That's the idea. So
you won't get sued.
right. So,
Well, yeah. Well, on the other hand, and I know you've done songwriting and you do music and other things, but there are no new notes and there are no new colors. So in some sense, you have to reuse.
Right.
You have to recycle, which is, but you make it your own too.
Yeah. So you're going to be influenced, but and just be influenced, but change it enough so that nobody knows you know, stole it.
Right,
It's not really stealing, but
right. Yeah. Well, it
so
gives
that,
you the thought, the thought is there, the suggestion, and you grow with it, you know.
yeah, and nobody is going to do something that's totally, absolutely 100% original that no one has ever seen before. Uh,
It's true.
you know, we're always going to be like somebody else's in some ways.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Well, how about, I know you've done lots of music in the past, songwriting as well. Uh,
uh-huh.
but what is it about? I know maybe, you know, your retirement time, you know, something has drawn you to do a lot of painting. And I was just wondering if that was, you know, just the fact that you have time to yourself to do that now.
Um, well, let's see. I started painting before I retired, so
Oh, I know.
maybe 7 years or so before I retired.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I have a little more time probably, but like most people who retire, I've heard a lot of people say, I don't know how I got anything done before because I'm so busy now. Um,
Right. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that either.
So yeah, I'm grateful I got to retire to be able to help out my kids with grandkids a little more and stuff like that. But yeah, there have more opportunity to paint. Um, so I am grateful for like the local gallery, the Artist's Hand, that
Hmm.
has shown my stuff, and Levity Brewing, and
Levity.
there's a gallery in Pittsburgh called BE Galleries in Lawrenceville.
Hmm.
And so just that's one motivator, although, you know, it's changed a little bit with COVID,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
needing to switch paintings out every once in a while has kind of helps me be motivated also.
Yeah. It doesn't stop people from painting, you know, for COVID, but it might stop people from viewing painting. Any thought about doing like markaltrogge.com and, you know, expanding your market to New York or California or something like that?
Well, I do have a site on Etsy,
Okay.
Mark Altrogge Studio, which that has actually been pretty nice blessing to me to be able to get wider exposure that
Yeah,
way.
that's
So
great.
that's that's kind of a nice thing these days to be able to do that, and then
Mhm.
also to be able to put up new paintings on Facebook or that kind of thing, so that people can see them that way.
Yeah, and I know you've done custom work. I've seen the painting that you did at Luxembourg's of
Hmm.
Luxembourg's. So I know you do some custom work. And in Levity as well. You have some other things around town. Do you get requests?
Occasionally, I don't get tons of them, but yeah, I've done. One person asked me if I would paint a picture of her house that she and her husband lived in when they moved to another place because they had a lot of good memories in that house. So I
Oh,
painted that house, and another lady in town asked me if I would paint a picture of, I believe it was Florida State or a campus in Florida that her daughter had gone to,
oh,
and as a memory there. So I do occasional things like that.
yeah. That would make a special gift, I'm sure.
Well, I hope.
Yeah. And I know Luxembourg's has their painting hanging in the back of the store, and I knew when I was in the store, I looked up and I was like, that's a Mark Altrogge. And they said, oh, yes, we had him paint that for us. So that's how
That's
I knew
great.
you must do custom work. And you also have the Jimmy Stewart statue in some paintings. Really nice work with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know you have a canvas behind you.
Uh-huh. Well, this is actually a paper notepad, but
Okay.
I can get a canvas.
Yeah, you have a little demo for us that, kind of a la Bob Ross.
Sure. Yeah, I can. Well, a lot of people. Well, how about if would you want to see like a little color mixing demo or something
Oh,
like that?
definitely, yes, because that's the magic of your painting.
Okay. Well, I'll attempt to. I will add some more. I'll add some more paint to this, but I usually right now these are heavy body acrylics,
Okay.
and I can get them. I get them at Michael's. I get them at Dick Blick online,
Mhm.
and so lots of time. Most of the time, I do an undercoat in acrylic, and then I will, after that dries, I will put a clear blue, a bluish glaze over that.
Hmm.
And then after that dries, I work back into that with oil paints.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah.
you can paint oils over acrylics, but not vice versa.
Okay. Good to
So
know.
just in case anybody wants to do that. So anyway, so just the basic colors on the
The
yellow,
primary.
red, yellow, and blue are the basic three colors in the color wheel, and I have white in the middle. So if you mix, let's see, red and yellow makes orange. I don't know if you can see that or not.
I can.
So you can get all kinds of. So if I were doing a painting, I would mix the red and the yellow. And then if I want to add some white to add white to red, and you get pink. So I would say if anybody wanted to start off learning to paint, one of the things that would be good to do is just goof around with color mixing. So starting with the three basics, but I'll add some others in a second. So I'll add white, and this is phthalo blue.
Okay.
Mix it with a little white. Phthalo blue mixed with white is my very favorite color in
Hmm.
the world. I have, in fact, lots of times I start off by, I'll paint my canvas light blue so
Mhm.
that when I paint the other colors on, sometimes I'll leave little spaces, little lines, but lots of times I will use light blue in outlining things. So lots of times, like if I have trees, for example, I will outline them with like a light blue, and there's not light blue in trees. There's no blue in trees. But it just makes it pop. It just kind of makes it come alive at times to have that blue in there. So I
There's
would,
blue, there's blue in your trees.
that's right. Well, I remember
I did take one of your acrylic classes at the Artist Hand, and I
Uh-huh.
do remember from that class, you started with making blue trees, and I thought, oops, and you said, no, 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 you just start with the blue, and then you see where it goes from there, and it just, you're right, it makes the colors pop, it really does.
Yeah, so you can make green by mixing yellow and blue. So if you were stuck on a desert island and could only have 4 colors, it would be red, yellow, blue, and white.
Okay, and I guess
So
if the blue is dark enough, you don't need black.
you know what? You're right. I'm glad you mentioned that because I never use the color black.
Wow.
I mix I mix the phthalo blue
Mhm.
with burnt umber, which is dark brown.
Mhm.
So if I want to have black, I mix those 2 colors together. So I just put some brown on my, so here's burnt umber, which is dark brown. Here's phthalo blue. Mix those together and it creates a black. So if I want a black, I mix dark brown and dark blue together. And then if I want to make it a little warmer black, I can add more brown in.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
So,
So you really only need 4 colors.
well, yeah, I suppose if you had to limit it to 4. So I I do like browns. I like burnt umber. So I also like, one of my favorite colors is yellow ochre, which is, you could probably create yellow ochre by mixing brown, burnt umber, and yellow.
Mhm.
But here is yellow ochre, one of
Mhm.
my favorite colors. So now when you were in the class, you probably remember me saying, one of my teachers in college said, always mix a little bit of sky tone in with the earth and earth tone in the sky. And so that's probably what started me using a little bit of blue on. So if I were painting some ground here and grass, if I had grass here, say with green, I would also mix a little bit of blue in. So if you happen to see, say, one of my a farm scene or something like that,
Mhm.
and you look at the grasses in the foreground, there'd be green, there'd be brown, but there would also be a little bit of blue in there.
No blue.
And
Well,
so
I noticed in your skies, you do mix in other colors, from the other parts of the painting. So, and it doesn't detract at all. It actually makes the colors pop.
oh, thanks. Yeah, I always yeah, a little bit of that yellow ochre in the sky is really, mixing that in is nice. So let's see here. If I were doing the sky, let's see. So if I were, say I was painting the sky, painting clouds in the sky, well, I would also lots of times mix in a little bit of yellow ochre or brown into And in the sky, it's not pure blue most of the time. I mean, lately it's been beautiful, clear skies. But when there are clouds in the sky, they're just not pure white most of the time. They're pure blue. You know, there's gray and there's so even though there's
depending on the time of day, I mean, they're purpley and orange and red and everything. So
yeah. So even though a tree, for example, might not have blue in it, when you put a little blue in it, just makes it pop.
Yes, it does.
Like this one.
Uh-huh.
So
it makes the browns more bold.
Yeah, you got the browns, but then the blue in the background. And here's I don't know if you can see this or not. This is outlined in a blue. This leaf. Some of the leaves are outlined in blue.
Yeah, I can see.
So it just makes it pop, come alive more to have that kind of thing. So yeah, so there are different rules which I'm grateful my college profs taught me lots of great rules. One of my profs was named Ralph Reynolds. He was taught drawing in watercolor and lots of things. Well, I believe it was Ralph that taught me the rule of thirds. And so all these rules, you don't have to stick with them, but generally in a lot of paintings, like if you're going to do a landscape, can you see those lines on there or not?
Yes, they're faint, but we can see them.
Okay, I'll use a darker marker.
Now we can really see them.
Okay. So generally, things you want to put like important things on the third. That's now you doesn't have to be exactly, but say if you were going to do a landscape and you were going to have a barn up here, you know, lots of times it would be on the third. Now, obviously, you can change these things. You don't have to stick with the rules, but that's kind of a general rule. I can remember another prof I had, John Dropcho, great guy, wonderful guy. He was my prof. I was in grad school under him, and we had an undergraduate, and this undergraduate put something right in the very center of the painting, for starters. And I remember John Dropcho saying to the student, look, you have to know the rules before you can break the rules. Right. So you need to learn the rules and then you can break them. And so my dad, I think I told you, my dad had his rules. He certainly believed in the rule of thirds.
Yeah.
He had another very important rule, which I'm sure you've heard. Every barn must be red. Every barn must be red. What's that?
The mail pouch barn must be red.
That's right. And so I can remember one time I was with my dad painting, and I was painting using a photograph of a barn in Colorado, and the barn was brown. And I intentionally put the barn in the center of the painting, this particular barn, I wanted it to be right in the center, and there was a fence coming along also. And the barn was brown, and so I'm painting this brown barn. And my dad says, "Mark, every barn must be red." I said, but Dad, the real barn is brown. I don't care. Every barn must, and you should not put that barn in the center of the painting because of the rule of thirds. I said, "Dad, when you know the rules, then you can break the rules."
So your barn will be blue, right?
I have painted a couple blue barns.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. So I am,
Oops, I think we just lost your audio. Are you there?
yeah, sorry.
Okay.
There was a phone call was coming in.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No problem.
I could see your mouth, but I couldn't hear anything. So,
Oh, okay. Well, no, I was saying I'm grateful for my profs that I had in college and my education. Another great painter was Bob Cronauer. I don't know if you ever heard that name or not, but he was a local painter.
yeah, I didn't realize he was a prof, but I have heard his name as well.
And Ned Wirt was another one who really great painter. He and John Dropcho were just great painters. They really influenced me a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things about this area. We do have a lot of great artists in many ways. Part of the reason I wanted to do this series, because we do have a lot of local culture, and it seemed to have gone underground. COVID, it was just sort of disappearing, and I thought, we need to do something about that. So I'm wondering if I could ask our co-host, have there been any questions coming through that could be directed to Mark? I don't know if we have any questions coming through.
We do not have any questions.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine then. I just wanted to make sure we had time for that if there were any, because I made that commitment. So, but yeah, I think this is one of those things that just, it draws people out and is very meaningful. And I really appreciate your painting, Mark. I just think it's very expressive, very colorful. It's kind of, feels like a celebration. It feels like, the joy of life that you experience, you're celebrating in your paintings. It just is really,
Thank you.
yeah, it's a special thing. So I wanted to draw that out and call attention and make sure that people have the opportunity to notice you in our community, because I think that's a real gift for us.
Wow. Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to, but if we have a couple minutes, I thought I could show sort of a progression of how one way to develop a painting.
Okay, we've got about 10 minutes, so go for it.
Okay, and I might have shown these to you when you took the class at the Artist's Hand, but and this is just one way. It's not the only way, but lots of times, say I would maybe make a sketch first on a canvas, and did I do the rule of thirds? Yeah, I guess I did.
Yep, you did. It's just instinct now.
And one of the things that I always try to keep in mind, and I don't always start a painting like this, but I try to keep it in mind, is a dark and light pattern. So it's usually when I'm doing a painting, I try to think, okay, how am I directing the viewer's eye around the painting? And one of the important aspects is a dark and light pattern. And in these paintings that I showed you earlier, I think of, now this may be not as easy to see, but I'm thinking while I'm working on this like a jigsaw puzzle, I'm thinking, okay, where is the dark and the light patterns? And so I see, okay, here are dark spots, and how does that direct the eye around? And then I think, okay, the blue, how is that directing the eye of the viewer? And how does the red direct the eye of the viewer? So a dark and light pattern, it's I don't always start a painting by painting the dark and light, but I keep that in mind. And so then another thing, so after the dark and light pattern, I just sort of put in the basics, and I tell people, don't try to do a finished painting in one coat. I never do that. I'm always thinking, okay, I'm going to go over this with different layers. And generally a good practice is work from big areas first to detail last. So I don't start off painting every single little piece of grass some people start off just detail right from the beginning, and that's fine. But generally, I work from large to small, general to more detail. So then now in this variation of it, I'm beginning to add more detail. And so I'm adding detail in the sky. So like you said earlier, here's a little bit of yellow ochre in the sky, and here's a little bit of purple mixed with white in the sky, and adding a little more detail into the foreground, using the sky to emphasize this fence. And so then I would just continue to add detail into the painting. So at some point I would stop, but and again, I'm not trying to paint a photograph. I don't paint, so I want it to be kind of loose. I want it to be impressionistic.
Yes.
But I do keep adding more detail as I go along. So that's sort of another thing.
That's sort of the secret with, I guess, acrylics, is the layering that you can do. Can you do the same thing with oils?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I will start off with a layer of acrylic and then keep adding oils over that.
Yeah,
So,
I've done a little more in the watercolor side of things, and layering doesn't necessarily work. So
no, and I really respect people who can do watercolors, because you can't make mistakes as much as you can in an oil painting, because you can cover up.
Yeah. If you layer, it just makes it muddy. You don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. So generally working from general to specific, and also just for landscapes and things like that, more detail in the foreground, less detail as it goes back. So, and another thing that another prof taught me was there is nothing in nature that is 100% pure color. I mean, there is, but if you looked out at a field, it's generally not just one and only one shade of green.
No.
It would not be only one shade of brown. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but you look up at a tree and it's not going to be just one shade of green like that background behind you. There will be numerous variations of green. So that was help
Yeah,
with things.
and maybe working light to dark too, because your eye is going to be drawn to the darker details if you're doing details that way.
Right, and generally, things in the foreground are darker.
Mhm.
And get a little lighter. And if you think about, like, say, mountain ranges, you see a mountain range and then there's mountain ranges behind it, and they get lighter as they go further back.
Yeah, nice.
So
You're
those are
gonna
all
make me want to
kind
go
of,
home and try some painting.
you should.
Maybe a little later. Maybe on a, well, actually tomorrow is a day off, which is wonderful. Veterans Day. We won't be open tomorrow, but
Go
maybe
ahead,
I'll crank out some paints and see what
get
happens.
your paints out.
Have a little fun with that.
Yeah.
So much. I think we're going to wrap this up if there aren't any questions. And I just really want to thank you for sharing. This is just so much good stuff and stories, and a lot of motivational as well to people who are not only interested in doing art, but just appreciating what is there. So thank you for sharing
Thanks.
one of those things about, you know, composition and color and all the things that kind of go into that, which I know take years to develop those kind of skills, and you make it look easy and simple. So,
Well, thank you for having me. This has been fun. Thank you.
yeah, lots of fun. And I think people will really enjoy, you know, being a little bit on the inside and seeing what goes on. But thank you so much for sharing with us.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Our next points of culture I just wanted to share is 2 weeks from tonight, and we're going to talk about the power of story, which of course in a library we think about that a lot. And it's not just the art of storytelling, but creating stories as well and creating your own story. So please join us 2 weeks from now at 7 o'clock. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Sure. Thank you, Kate.
All right.